morning, everyone, and welcome to the inauguration of the Max Margles Children's Library. My name is Janine West, and I'm the director of the Eleanor London Côte Saint-Luc Public Library, and I'm so honored to be the MC for you today. This is a very, very special and unprecedented occasion. But before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to extend a special welcome to Mayor Mitchell Brownstein, Councillor Mike Cohen, Councillor Dita Burku, Councillor Mitch Kujavsky, I think he's here, Councillor Stephen Erdely, Councillor Sidney Benizri, Councillor Andy Schuster, and Councillor Lior Azarad. I would also like to recognize and welcome, I'm not sure if he's arrived yet, but he was supposed to come, Member of Parliament Anthony Housefather. I don't think he's here yet, but
if he was here, you'd know it.
And as well, we had a special guest, and I'm not sure if he's here either, but it's Hampstead Mayor Jeremy Levi. Finally, I want to give a very heartfelt welcome to our honored guest, Mrs. Roslyn Margles, and to all of her friends and her family. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming today to mark this momentous occasion, an occasion which was made possible thanks to the generosity of Roslyn Margles. This donation and endowment will go a long way to supporting children's literacy for many, many years to come, and I look forward to working very closely with Roslyn. On a personal note, I have to say it's been such a great pleasure to get to know Roslyn over the past few months. I think, from my point of view, we have really created a special relationship, and I'm really, really honored to be part of this today. So without further ado, I will pass the podium over to Councillor Mike Cohen. Oh, sorry. The Rabbi is first, and I didn't do that.
Rabbi Jacobson's right.
Rabbi Jacobson, I am so sorry. Please come to the podium. I am so sorry.
We're going to name another wing after you.
I am so sorry.
Sorry is the spirit of today. Slichot. You could say Asham nu Bagad. Good morning, everybody, and what a beautiful day, gorgeous day. In Montreal, I'm so honored to be here, standing again and again. And I remember some 18 years ago when this all started in Roz's small apartment, Côte Saint-Luc Road, committing to honor the memory of her Bashert and her beloved Max. And one thing about Roz, and I know many of you have been at such ceremonies and dedications and incredible achievements that she has brought and enriched our community and our city in Montreal, is that Holech v'noseh, like the menorah, your candle is always being added. The light is increasing. Your generosity is not getting less, it's getting more. The commitment is even stronger, and the benefit for all of us is exponential. Today is very special because most people understand that literacy, education, most important part of someone's education is, of course, when they go to university. Some would argue perhaps when you're in CJAP, some would argue maybe high school is more important, but in the Jewish faith, there is an expression in the Bible, Adam eitz hasadahu, man is like a tree. We're all analogized like a tree, and the great sages say that just like a tree, at its very beginning, there are two poles on each side, and you wrap it with chains or strings, because those moments when the tree's beginnings are the most crucial, because if it doesn't grow straight up in its first few years, it's impossible to fix later. In the faith of Israel, and I believe also in other faiths, the most important part of child's education is its first few years. that's when everything is set. And the rest of its life, it will build upon those beginnings. So today is not only an investment in Côte Saint-Luc Library, it's an investment in the future of our children, a future that sometimes looks bleak. The power of the book, its creativity, its imagination is somewhat getting lost as it competes with virtual realities. But I pray that today would be a rededication, that we understand that teach our children to open up that book and read very, very young, so that we give them a chance that they could grow straight and strong and become bright lights for our future. I want to take the opportunity to congratulate the city of Côte Saint-Luc, led by its mayor, Mitch Brownstein, and the Côte Saint-Luc Library and all of its directors. And of course, I once again, my hat's off and my admiration to Roslyn Margles, who's a member of our shul, but more importantly, a dear friend, and I would say at this point, a family member of the Jacobson family. And we want to tell you today how much, not only us, but how much all of us love you, admire you, respect you, and how much you've been an inspiration for so many. Especially that, like I said, it doesn't get less, it doesn't get diminished, and you are striving constantly to do more and to affect more, and Hashem shall bless you. This coming new year with new renewals and hachlatas, with health and mazel and strength, and may we all be blessed to be inscribed and sealed in the book of life, Aksiva v'chasima tova. May this coming year be a year that we can say post-pandemic, and once again gather again, because together we all know we are stronger. And this is a day that will be the bedrock for creating that strength. And let us say Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi. Yes, COVID is still with us, ladies and gentlemen. Mike Cohen, City Councillor. I also want to acknowledge the presence of former Mayor Robert Lippman, who of course played a big role in building this community as well. Member of Parliament Anthony Housefather, a former mayor, has just joined us. And Councillor Kajavsky, if you have a traffic problem, go see Councillor Kajavsky in the back there. He's our traffic czar. He's just joined us as well. So I want to say what an honor it is to be here, and I'm glad Anthony Housefather is here, because frankly, we wouldn't be talking about this if it wasn't for him. Because when he became mayor and I became a councillor 17 years ago, I went to him and I said, Mr. Mayor, I would like to have a portfolio to deal with naming rights and sponsorship. And that's the greatest thing he did right away, is he gave each councillor a portfolio and we were able to run with it. So believe it or not, 15 years ago, we adopted a naming rights policy in Côte Saint-Luc, and we went through it in great detail. We had a committee, and it took, we started off baby steps. We did a lot of sponsorship, we did naming rights for events, for benches, but we were we were hoping for something of this nature. And then I got a call a few months ago from another good friend, Simon Ben Simon, who's here with us today from the Canadian Associates of Ben Gurion University. And he said, Mike, Roslyn Margles would like to talk to you. And I said, oh, did I do something wrong? Well, I spoke to Roslyn, and we began with Janine West, Angelo Marino, our treasurer, and Andrea Sharon, who's one of our head of our legal counsel for purchasing and procurement. And we began very lengthy discussions about naming rights, and we're here today to show the final result. And I'm hoping that today is the beginning, that we are open for business. We have opportunities in our community for naming rights, so that items that are not in our budget, we can come up with funds, and today is a great example of $500,000 that's been donated to this library, and this is going to go This is going to go to programming that we normally could not afford. So we have a lot of other opportunities, and if anyone here wants to discuss them with us, please, during the cocktails, we're here to talk to you about it, so no problem. And I know I'm going off script for a bit, but I just wanted, since he gave me the permission to get the ball rolling, I thought it might be appropriate if Anthony would just say a few words and maybe pat me on the back.
Definitely want to pat you on the back, Mike, and it's great to see Robert here, and it's great to see so many Côte Saint-Luc elected officials here. Mitchell, thank you so much for all that you and your council do every day, and Janine, who has now been with Côte Saint-Luc for 40 years as our there is nobody that has a better library staff than Côte Saint-Luc, and I look at Tanya Abramovich, who was our Director of Library Services, who became the city manager of Côte Saint-Luc, and it was because we saw the brilliance in the library. And we wanted all of the city to run like the library, because this is the best library in Canada. And it's also a moment to remember Eleanor London, for whom the library is named, because she was the impetus for Côte Saint-Luc having a library that was open 365 days a year, 12 hours a day, and she was the ingenious force that created a library where everybody felt like they were at home every single day. So now, turning to Roslyn Margles, I just want to thank you and all of your family for being here with us today, for having endowed this incredible children's library, because it will make such a difference in the future of all of the youth that come here, Côte Saint-Luc residents and non-Côte Saint-Luc residents. This library is a jewel on the island, but it's a jewel not only for Côte Saint-Lucers. People come from all over to be part of this library, and it is something that will now be made so much better because of the generosity of Roslyn and the Margles family. So thank you so much, et bonne journée tout le monde.
Thank you so much, Anthony. And now I'd like to introduce to you the woman of the hour, Mrs. Roslyn Margles.
So soon? So soon. Oh dear. What a beautiful crowd. And pardon the coat, but it was too chilly for old folk like me. Anyways, every year, like many others, I am faced with a decision about which causes to support. There are a multitude of worthy projects and organizations, but several factors were instrumental in choosing a children's library. It is foremost an everlasting memorial to honor my late husband Max, an avid, dedicated reader who loved reading and the value it brings to our lives. In this digital age, it seems other people have mentioned this before, the time spent by children exploring microelectronic media may develop computer literacy, but it does not imbue children with the values that books can. TikTok, Snapchat, text, video games are not substitutes for books. Reading and sharing books can create personal, face-to-face interactions where children can learn to read emotional cues, develop social skills, and connect. Stories are essential for children's formative years. During challenging times, it is not uncommon for philanthropic efforts to shift to medicine, poverty, and war relief, leaving the cultural arts at the bottom of the list. I, however, prioritize the gift of literature, of storytelling, of the power of the written word. I believe the saying that children who read books today are our leaders of tomorrow. I believe that books shape who we are and what we become. Books can transport the reader to a land of wonder and surprises, like a magic carpet. Stories give children a deeper understanding of the world around them and of cultures that are different from their own. In reading a well-written book, you become part of the story. You suffer the pain and enjoy the happiness of the characters. Ideally, you become more aware of how events affect other people and improve your ability to empathize. I hope that my donation will enable the Max Margles Children's Library to provide additional programs and experiences to encourage children and teens to cultivate creativity, curiosity, and imagination, and to broaden their horizons. Through books, I do hope they will develop empathy for the other. I hope they will develop a lifetime love of reading and its twin, writing. On the subject of writing, I envisage an annual Roslyn and Max Margles Writing or Storytelling Contest with the cooperation of schools in the area and with the possibility of guidance, mentoring, judging, workshops by authors affiliated with the Quebec Writers Federation. I hope that this will become a superb, unique cooperative effort that may in time create a wide, well, I'd say worldwide would be nice, create an award-winning program. As the executive director of the Quebec Writers Federation is not able to be here today, I have the privilege of introducing her worthy replacement, poet Rachel McCrum. Say hello. Yes, Rachel. Rachel comes to Montreal from a small seaside town in Northern Ireland, however, with a 6-year stopover in Scotland. Her first anthology, The First Blast to Awaken Women Degenerate, was published in 2018. Her poetry has been described as soulful and yet defiant, wrestling with questions of displacement, feminism, family, home, the whole works. In addition to working on a second collection of poetry, Rachel performs as a poet, is an events curator, and a workshop facilitator. Formerly membership and communications coordinator for the Quebec Writers Federation, these days, Rachel is very busy. She's curator of the Atwater Poetry Project, editor of Font, a new online magazine spotlighting innovative English language activity across Quebec, and freelance project manager for the Quebec Writers Federation, in particular, the Max Margles Writing Residency. As a child, Rachel recalls she read and wrote a lot, and she still does. So welcome, Rachel.
I was getting quite that introduction. Thank you, Roslyn.
You're welcome, my pleasure.
As I said, I didn't know I was getting quite that introduction, so I'll let the blushes subside for a moment. It's my pleasure to be here representing the Quebec Writers Federation today. Laurie Schubert, the director, is very sorry that she couldn't attend and sends her best wishes and her wishes to the opening of the library. Roslyn had asked me to come and say a few words about this long-term vision, which I love to hear about, which goes from this idea of nurturing the love of reading, of literacy, of words, of storytelling for the youth, and also where that can go to. And for those who don't know, Roslyn has been very instrumental in building and providing those opportunities for English language writing in Quebec, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about those two projects to let you understand that the ambitions of worldwide literature, nurturing of literature aren't that far off, in all honesty, in the name of Roslyn and Max Margles. Roslyn had come to the Quebec Writers Federation a fair few years ago and said, I want to do something to support English language literature in Quebec, the writing of it, the creation of substantial new works, which is a gift of a brief to be given, because it was basically like, what can we do? So we put our heads together and thought for a while and came up with, well, what about an international residency? They always go down well. What about one of those? And so we worked on it and went off and researched some countries. I think the word that Roslyn given was, somewhere with a bit of pizzazz. So I went off and did my research and came back and presented a list of cities where we could work with, and Roslyn in her wisdom chose Dublin. And Dublin is one of the great cities of literature of this world. It is a UNESCO city of literature. It has an infrastructure that goes from Trinity University, the Irish Writers Centre, the beautiful new Museum of Literature Ireland, which can be found there. And I was like, yes, let's do that. And so it was our absolute pleasure with Quebec Writers Federation to build those relationships to create the Max Margles Writing Residency in Dublin. The name of Max Margles now resounds around Dublin's literary infrastructure as well. And then 2020 came, which was the year of supposedly our first residency, and of course things got postponed and postponed again. And we had our writer, Tracy Waddleton, sitting there waiting to go and spend a month in the grounds of St. Patrick's Cathedral to create her next novel, to nurture all that, and we were waiting and waiting and waiting for international travel to open up again. And then, as it turns out, it takes more than a global pandemic to put off the determination of Roslyn Margles to nurture literature in Quebec. And so, in the meantime, the Max Margles Writing Fiction Prize was created, which has been taken up this year by June Park, a Korean-born Canadian author. It provides support for a writer to take 4 months to write, which is a dream come true, to have the time to nurture their craft, to fulfill their ideas, to fulfill their next dream, their next book. It is the largest prize that a provincial writing organisation gives in Canada at the moment. And so these are substantial acts of generosity that are truly creating new opportunities for substantial new work in English language literature in Quebec. It starts with reading, it starts with libraries, it starts with this beautiful structure, I have to say. It's my first time visiting here, and what a gift to this city. Roslyn, thank you for your generosity, thank you for your vision, which is long-term, international, and substantial, and long may it continue.
Thank you, Rachel. Do you want to introduce you?
Hang on with this, in case you have nothing to say.
For many years, I won't say how many, my niece Melissa Margles has built her professional and voluntary careers in the nonprofit world. Where are you, Melissa?
Oh, hiding. Oh, there you are. Okay.
I'll start again. Melissa has built her professional and voluntary careers in the nonprofit world. Presently, she is Principal Director, Major Gifts and Planned Giving at the Jewish General Hospital Foundation, where she brings her expertise and wealth of experience gained at Montreal institutions such as McGill University, the MUHC, the YMYWHA, and the Cumming Center. A passionate and dedicated community advocate, her commitments are too numerous to name, but I will mention a few. She's a board member of Nelly Philanthropy, which is a successful, responsive grassroots foundation based in Montreal. Chez Doris, and the Saint-Luc Grocery Project during the early days of the COVID pandemic. She received the Côte Saint-Luc Volunteer of the Year Award for her role as a driving force behind and the key organizer of this worthwhile project. So let's have a hand for Melissa.
You could do it, you could do it.
Good morning, friends, family, and city officials. For those of you who don't know me, though now you do, my name is Melissa Margles. I am the youngest niece of Max Margles, who was my father Sydney's brother and husband to my Aunt Roslyn. When Roz asked me to say a few words about my Uncle Max, I was truly thrilled, and I would like to tell you a little bit about who my uncle really was. He was an engineer, respected in his profession, and was often called upon to act as an arbitrator to settle disputes in the construction industry. He was a simple man, a kind, caring, and gentle soul, who was always willing to lend an ear and some advice. He had a deep love for Israel, a curiosity for the intricacies of bridges and how they were built. He excelled in word games and the New York Times crossword puzzle, and was more than fond of classical music and opera. My uncle also had a very strong moral compass, both in his personal life and in business. He and I would often discuss the pain and suffering that he saw in the world around us and wondered how things could and should be better for all of mankind. He was pained by people's personal pain and suffering, and he abhorred man's inhumanity to man. In business, he was meticulous in his work and never compromised his position, and he compelled others to be the same way in order to achieve the highest degree of success. This is evident in his last 3 construction projects prior to his retirement that mark the Montreal skyline: the Industrial Alliance Tower, 1250 René Lévesque, and La Maison des Coopérants. When I was a young girl and we would visit, he always took out his marble game to play with me. This was a game of thought and strategy where the last marble has to end up in the middle hole. In playing this with Max, he taught me to think things through, plan my next move, and strategize my next steps. As I got older, I came to learn of his love for books. The shelves of his apartment that he shared with my aunt were full of books of all genres. To keep track of these books, he had a Rolodex with the book title, the author, the main plot of the book, and any details that he felt were pertinent. I can scarcely remember a time when I called him to ask about a book where he hadn't either read or heard of the book. If he hadn't read it, he would research the book to see if it was interesting to him, and if it was, he would buy it. Then he would give me an overview of the book, main points to know, and answer any specific questions. You could say that my uncle was the original Cole's Notes, and far surpassed Cole's in my opinion. It's also safe to say Max was probably behind almost every English assignment that I had relating to a book review or an essay. He would often turn to me and say, "Melissa, why don't you just read the book yourself?" When my husband Michael and I were buying our first home, it was Uncle Max the engineer who guided us through to ask the right questions and look for certain things. He came to a few open houses as well, and when it came time to make the offer, he told us what to ask for in the home inspection. I like to think that I had a special relationship with my uncle. It has been 18 years since his passing, and I do think of him often. When I pick up a new book to read, when I'm downtown and I can see the buildings he was instrumental in erecting, and when I take the time to listen to classical music, his memory is ever present. My aunt has devoted herself to dedicating various projects in my uncle's honor, and I'm always grateful to be included in the celebrations and the ceremonies. Today's dedication is particularly meaningful to me, as Côte Saint-Luc is where I live with my family, and though my children are too old for the children's library, I am filled with pride that there will be generations of children who will benefit from the programs and services offered by the library that I hope will instill the same love of books and reading that my uncle had, and that because of him, I've passed on to my children. Thank you.
Now I'd like to introduce Mayor Mitchell Brownstein. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Wow, some amazing speeches. Now, if we look around us today, we'll see that we have myself, Mayor, former Mayor Anthony Housefather, former Mayor Robert Libman, and the library is named after Mayor Bernard Lang. Every mayor in the city...
Not the library.
Not the library?
Building.
The building. The building. Okay, the building, which includes the library. So every mayor is with us in one way or another. And I know Bernard Lang would be with us because the library was important to him as it is to every council member. You know, my earliest memories go back to when I was a kid. My mom would go to the Côte Saint-Luc Public Library and take out books for me to read. And story time would be read by Eleanor London. She would read the books to the kids. I was a little one, 3, 4 years old. I would come to the library, second floor of the Côte Saint-Luc shopping center, and it was such an exciting time just to sit there and hear books. My mom still reads books, loves books. She would bring them home, bring me there, and she'd read her book, and I'd look at the picture books. And if I look at programming, now I'm a grandfather, and the first program that my 7-month-old grandson has attended so far is music at the library last week. That's the first thing he's ever gone to in terms of a program, right here at the Eleanor London Public Library. A donation of $500,000. So much of it going to programming. What could be better for the future of the residents of Côte Saint-Luc and for all those who come and use our library? Thank you so much, Roslyn. Thank you to the Margles family. Here's my little paper with all the thank yous. I want to not miss anybody out. So I'd also like to thank Councillor Cohen, of course. I hope the mic's still on. I lost the mic somehow. Okay, thank you, Councillor Cohen. Really, it's a wonderful initiative. I know you worked 15 years to get this first donation, and we're looking forward to one every year from now on. I also want to thank our library director, Janine West. She's been amazing. Yes, and congratulations on 40 years of service with our city. Thank you so much. Working at the library, to our treasurer, Angela Marino, to General Counsel, Andrea Sharon, to our city manager, Jonathan Schechter, and all the staff who work so hard at making this event possible. Thank you all for being here today, and we're going to do a ribbon cutting, so stay for the ribbon cutting and for the celebration to follow. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mitchell. And now we would like to have a little presentation for Roslyn, if she wanted to come up to the podium. On behalf of the city and of the library, we would like to give you a little offer of thank you and our appreciation for everything that you have done.
Future city councillor. I look at the camera.